Welcome back, guys. The 9420 is alive. With injector problems and turbo problems, it was filling the exhaust with oil and raw fuel. That's what you're seeing burning off right there. I gotta get my tag. On the wire harnesses, we tag each connector. I gotta get that tag off of there. We're just gonna let her run. I did a 5-minute idle. Now you do a 5-minute half throttle, and then 5 minutes at a little higher RPM. And that's your first initial break-in, and that's where you just get to watch everything and listen. And then after that, we'll start taking it up and down the road. Even though it's a high horsepower tractor, it's a heavy tractor. So for that initial 10 and 20% engine load, just going up and down the road and spending time driving the engine is enough to start a little bit of break-in. And then we'll have to figure out how to load that bugger. There's a big hill over here, and that hill is enough that, like with the Massey or some of them other tractors, you can't even go up the hill in road gear, so it might be enough to break that thing in. All right, well, something went with the radio. That's just squealing at me, so we'll figure out how to shut that thing off, because nothing's working. So we got some run time on there. He revs up really good. Everything is looking really good. We got heat coming out of our vents, so that's a good sign. So we're gonna let her shut her off, cool down a minute, check our water and our fluids, and go from there. So after some run time yesterday, we had a little bit of oil weeping on the left side of the engine, and it was the valve cover gasket. And they're a rubber gasket now. It's kind of a really nice gasket, but it weeped a little bit. So we'll get a new one in there and reinstall it, and then run it again to make sure that it fixes that leak. But there's a quick overview of your valve train. So you got your electric solenoid for the injector, and the injector is actually under the middle push arm, the big heavy push arm. And then you got a bridge for the valve train there, because it's 4-valve. It's a 4-valve head. So yeah, fix that one little leak, and continue on breaking in the tractor. We're in a heat wave here. It's like 20, 25 degrees. 25 degrees, like holy cow. Let's a lot of people have been asking about the return on investment of the bale processor, and so let's grind the bale for the feedlot, and then we'll grab a couple bales for the cows, and we'll talk about the return on investment. And it by far is a fantastic return on investment, rather quickly in our situation. So I don't know about you guys, but it's kind of hard to feed cows a frozen bale. And so we take one bale a day and chop for the cows for the feedlot. And the frozen bales are kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt. The machine does does a good job with them, but sometimes you do have some troubles. They start to sit in there and you got to bounce it around. But yeah, so this allows us to actually still feed the feed that we want to the feed lot, the young stock. Kind of easy on the frozen bales. So now we'll load up our wet bale and dry bale for the cows, and we'll see what that's looking like out on pasture. All right, so we're loaded up for the next. I tie the net wrap to the fork, so when this bale tosses in, then I can lower my forks and the net wrap stays out. But here's what we got. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous haylage. Beautiful haylage. I'll just take the Massey and scoop that up. You know, there's just something about feeding the cows, as much of a pain as they can be sometimes. It's just when you bring them good quality feed, you know, and they row. But I joked that by doing this, a guy ought to learn how to do like a sorghum or a silage mix and then break out the TMR, and at that point we might as well start milking again. But yeah, so we'll go. I'll show you how the cows are doing, because it's pretty amazing. The first thing we notice, just like out rolling hay out here, it looks like a 1950s manure spreader was out here. You know how they just drop big clumps, but it's just scattered big clumps everywhere, which is fantastic. That's what we want. During that super cold snap, we fed up here, but you can see soil, you can see the ground through the hay. And if you do have some extra hay left over, well, then they weren't going to eat that to begin with. So the first thing to compare is that big dry bale. Little bull right there. He's such a hoot. Old 110, she's on our cull list. She's old, and she's given us a lot of great calves, but yeah, this fall she should become hamburger and steaks. So feeding first crop dry alfalfa, we know that if we came out here and unrolled it, or if we left them in a bale ring like we were in the feed lot, is that you would have pretty easily 6 to 8 small square bales left over worth of stems, because I mean, you guys know how they are. With that coarse alfalfa, they can leave him in neutral. With that coarse alfalfa, they can bump it, and they'll figure out how to get the leaves. They'll figure out how to get the leaves out of there, leave all the stems, and then you're going to make them ball until they get hungry enough to eat stems. And so out here, by doing it this way, I mean, boy howdy, we are lucky if the next day off of that big dry bale, you're lucky if you've got maybe one small square bale. Makes that 4430 work a little bit. There we go. There's that wet bale. So yeah, I mean, if you had some fine stem second crop, maybe there'd be a lot less waste. But you know, with the hay that we got going on, it's definitely saving us a lot of waste, and you can take a questionable bale and grind it like this, and they'll get more use out of it. Or if we just took a questionable bale and set up at the headland, or fed it as a whole bale, well, you know as well as I do that they're going to eat what they can get, and then that bale's going to be there for weeks and weeks while they pick around at it. And a lot of it just goes to waste. Then you got a big bale core to deal with. Where when you spread it out like this, they can easily just walk right along and sort the good from the bad as they see fit, you know. And then we're not dealing with bale cores. Like that last little bit was kind of funky. And there we go. Kind of hard to do with the camera, but yeah, yep, it's some extra fuel and a little extra time, but boy, tremendously better efficiency of the bales, bar none, no questions asked. It's a, as my friends to the south, the Spanish-speaking viewers would say, no bueno for no brainer. Yeah, they do amazing work on these windrows. That was kind of an ugly bale. It was a lot more ugly than I thought. We're kind of getting down there on the alfalfa, on the unwrapped dry hay. We're kind of getting to the bottom of good stuff. We're going to try not to touch. We got 130 horse hay bales. We're going to try not to touch them. Burn up the dry bales we got, and then we got several hundred silage bales to get us to spring. Chances are we'll have an early green up, so if need be, we'll just run them on. There shouldn't be anything to green up here in the spring, but if the alfalfa starts to green up, we can put them on there. But for mud season, they're staying here. whenever mud season is. Might be sooner than later. But yeah, I hope that made sense, guys. Let's go grab the Massey and get some hay to the feedlot. Well, let's scoop up. A couple scoops. And then the third scoop, I will push against the bale. Cleans it right up. And then we just dump it in the old bale feeder. And it actually works out really good. Works out really good. Again, a chunk of dirt, frozen dirt fell out. Tremendously less waste than if feeding the bales.